The psychological dangers of work, how stress and harassment create unsafe workplaces. Workplace safety isn't just about avoiding injuries, it's about mental health too. What happens when a toxic work environment becomes a safety hazard? Let's talk about it. Stress doesn't just weigh on the mind, it weakens concentration, coordination, and reaction time. In high-risk jobs, a single moment of inattention can lead to disaster. But even in office settings, stress-related burnout causes poor decision-making, increased absenteeism, and a decline in overall safety awareness. Think about the last time you felt completely overwhelmed at work. Maybe you had back-to-back deadlines or an impossible workload was dumped on your desk at the last minute. How did you feel? Were you focused, alert, or were you running on autopilot just trying to make it through the day? Prolonged stress does more than just make people feel exhausted. Studies show that chronic workplace stress increases injury rates by up to 50%. When workers are mentally drained, their ability to recognize hazards plummets. Their reaction time slows down. They cut corners to keep up with the pace, and when that happens, accidents are just waiting to happen. Imagine a construction worker handling heavy machinery after working 12-hour shifts for weeks without a break. One lapse in judgment, one miscalculation, and someone gets hurt, or worse. Even in office settings, stress-related fatigue can lead to errors that cause safety risks, from misinterpreting crucial instructions to forgetting vital security measures. When stress levels spike, workers may miss critical safety steps, fail to notice hazards in their surroundings, take shortcuts to meet unrealistic deadlines, or become fatigued, leading to accidents due to slower reaction times. Now imagine a different scenario. A worker is constantly belittled by their supervisor. They're given impossible deadlines, singled out for mistakes, and excluded from team meetings. They walk into work every day feeling sick with anxiety. Their mind isn't on their job, it's on survival. Harassment and bullying don't just create a toxic work culture, they create dangerous workplaces. When an employee is operating under extreme stress, they are more likely to be distracted, hesitant, or afraid to ask for help. They may see a safety issue but stay silent, worried that speaking up will make them a target. The result? Increased anxiety, making it harder to focus on tasks. Lack of trust in leadership, causing safety concerns to go unreported. Higher turnover, leaving businesses with inexperienced workers who are more prone to incidents. If you think extreme workplace stress and harassment only cause emotional harm, think again. In 2010, the world was shocked by a wave of suicides at Foxconn, a manufacturing giant in China. Foxconn wasn't just any workplace. It was a massive, high-pressure environment producing components for some of the biggest tech companies in the world. Employees worked on relentless production lines, assembling electronics under rigid conditions with little room for error. The quotas were grueling, the hours were long, the expectations were crushing. Workers described their daily routines as robotic, emotionless, and exhausting. The company's rules were strict, talking on the production floor was discouraged, and every second of the workday was micromanaged. Surveillance cameras monitored employees constantly, creating a culture of control rather than care. Many employees lived in cramped company dormitories, often sleeping in tiny, overcrowded rooms with barely any personal space. Their entire lives revolved around the factory: wake up, work, return to the dorm, repeat. There was no escape, no outlet for stress, no access to mental health support. For some, it became unbearable. Then the crisis unfolded. Workers started taking their own lives, jumping from dormitory buildings in desperation. One by one, the tragic losses mounted. The deaths sent shockwaves through the company, the media, and the world. People began asking, how did it get this bad? How could a workplace push employees to such extremes? The backlash was swift. Apple, one of Foxconn's largest clients, faced international pressure to take action. Foxconn responded by installing suicide nets around buildings to physically prevent workers from jumping. But the real issue wasn't the heights of the buildings, it was the depths of despair inside them. Real change only began when Foxconn was forced to overhaul its policies. They introduced counseling services, mental health programs, wage increases, and limits on excessive overtime. But for many workers, those changes came too late. The damage had already been done. This crisis revealed an uncomfortable truth. A mentally unhealthy workplace is an unsafe workplace. It also proved that mental health support isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a necessity for any business that values its people. We often talk about workplace safety in terms of hard hats, harnesses, and training manuals, but what about the dangers that aren't as obvious? The ones that linger in the break rooms, fester in conference calls, and ripple through whispered conversations. Toxic work environments don't just chip away at morale, they actively create safety hazards. A culture of fear, high pressure, and emotional exhaustion affects more than just mental well-being. It leads to real-world consequences that put workers in danger. When companies fail to support mental health, the ripple effects can be seen everywhere. Employees make more mistakes, injury rates climb, and absenteeism skyrockets. Stressed and exhausted workers can't operate at their best, and safety becomes an afterthought in the scramble to meet demands. High-pressure environments only add to the risk. When employees are pushed to their limits with unrealistic deadlines and impossible workloads, they start rushing. They take shortcuts. They become too overwhelmed to check for hazards or follow proper procedures. And in those moments, the likelihood of incidents surges. Even worse, fear can silence workers. When employees feel like speaking up about safety issues could lead to punishment, those hazards go unreported. Problems that could be fixed remain hidden, creating a workplace where danger lurks just beneath the surface. Workplace stress isn't just bad for employees, it's bad for business. When workers burn out, turnover increases, productivity declines, lawsuits become more frequent, and in the most tragic cases, a toxic workplace can lead to lives being lost. A company's culture is more than just a mission statement or a set of values, it's the foundation of safety. If that foundation is toxic, everything built on top of it is at risk of collapse. Mental health is just as important as physical safety, yet it's often overlooked. When stress, burnout, and workplace toxicity are ignored, it's not just morale that suffers, people get hurt. Businesses that don't prioritize mental well-being often see high turnover and low productivity. Workers who feel unsupported are more likely to leave or worse, suffer in silence while making critical mistakes that impact safety. The good news, small changes can make a big difference. Implementing training, offering support systems, and encouraging open conversations about mental health creates safer, healthier work environments. A workplace that values its people, fosters loyalty, reduces risks, and ultimately thrives. Mental health programs aren't a luxury, they're a necessity. It's time to start treating them that way. Let's take a moment to really reflect on this. Picture your workplace right now. Do employees feel like they can speak up when they're struggling? Is stress and burnout something that's acknowledged and addressed, or is it just part of the job? If the answer is unclear, or worse, if the answer is no, then it's time to take a hard look at what needs to change. Workplace mental health isn't just about offering a wellness program or posting an inspirational quote in the break room. It's about building a culture where employees feel safe, physically, mentally, and emotionally. A culture where speaking up doesn't mean getting shut down. A culture where workers feel valued not just for their productivity, but for their well-being. So, what can businesses do today to move in the right direction? First, mental health needs to be recognized as a workplace safety issue. Just like we have policies for handling hazardous materials or operating heavy machinery, there should be policies for handling workplace stress, burnout, and psychological safety. Second, leadership must set the tone. Employees need to know that management supports them, that they can raise concerns without fear of retaliation, that the company values them as human beings, not just as workers meeting quotas. An open-door policy isn't just a phrase, it should be a practice. Third, harassment and bullying should be actively prevented and addressed. Too many workplaces turn a blind eye to toxic behavior until it's too late. Enforcing a zero-tolerance policy for harassment isn't just about compliance, it's about creating a safe and respectful environment for everyone. And finally, mental health resources should be easily accessible. Employee assistance programs, access to counseling, stress management workshops, These aren't luxuries, they're necessities. Workers shouldn't have to hit a breaking point before they get the help they need. A safe workplace isn't just one that's free from physical hazards. It's one where people don't live in fear. It's a place where they can do their jobs without sacrificing their mental and emotional well-being. A workplace where employees feel supported, heard, and respected is a workplace that thrives. Safety isn't just about avoiding falls or preventing fires. It's about creating an environment where workers aren't afraid to ask for help, report concerns, and prioritize their well-being. When workers thrive, businesses thrive. It's time we start treating mental health as a safety issue, because it is. But this is only part of the bigger picture. Mental health hazards are just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to workplace safety. What about the hidden dangers in everyday tasks? Hazards that go unnoticed until it's too late. In our next video, we'll break down how to identify and eliminate these risks before they lead to disaster. Workplace safety is a conversation that involves everyone, from business owners to employees on the front lines. We want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a work environment where stress, harassment, or burnout directly impacted safety? Did you feel supported, or were concerns ignored? Sharing your experiences helps others recognize red flags and find solutions. Join the discussion in the comments. Your voice matters, and together, we can create safer, healthier workplaces. Don't forget to subscribe for more workplace safety insights. Stay informed, stay safe, and be part of the change.